Welcome to the Zambian People's Pulse Top 3 Stories for today. Right now, we're looking at a situation where Zambia's usually orderly ballot boxes have suddenly become a battleground. Our first story, the Electoral Commission of Zambia has abruptly halted nominations for the Lusaka mayoral race and key ward by-elections. They've essentially locked down the entire process. The immediate trigger for this lockdown is a phenomenon called double adoption chaos. The ruling UPND party submitted multiple conflicting candidates for the same exact seat. These double adoptions occur when competing internal factions bypass central party authority to file their own preferred candidates simultaneously. That bureaucratic factionalism trickles down rapidly, creating absolute confusion for the officials on the ground who are trying to run the actual voting process. The ECZ's intervention reveals a friction between the ruling party's internal selection process and the state's requirement for orderly nominations as the 2026 elections approach. A political party doesn't accidentally nominate two people for the same job. These dual submissions happen because deliberate physical turf wars are playing out in the background. This brings us to story 2. A scathing editorial from the Zambian People's Pulse condemns the resurgence of cadreism in the capital, the deployment of informal political thugs to muscle outcomes in their favor. Rowdy youth factions are now being actively mobilized to physically pressure local leaders and aggressively influence these internal party decisions. The return of these street-level enforcers directly violates the administration's core New Dawn promise. The party campaigns specifically on a vow to completely eradicate political thuggery from public spaces. The double adoption paperwork error halting the elections is simply the sanitized, bureaucratic reflection of an informal, violent muscle game playing out in reality. What exactly makes the Lusaka mayor's office and these municipal wards so valuable that party factions are willing to fight in the streets over them? The primary target of this territorial control is the city's sprawling public markets. These spaces are where thousands of ordinary citizens conduct their daily business. The secondary target is the city's major transportation hubs, which serve as Lusaka's vital, high-volume economic arteries. Whoever controls these municipal spaces can exact lucrative informal taxation, extortion, and protection fees from vulnerable street traders and bus operators. For ordinary Zambians, the return of political cadreism is a direct daily threat to their economic survival and their physical safety. With public outcry mounting and the streets threatening to spiral out of control, the ruling party is scrambling to contain the damage. That leads to our third story. The UPND leadership abruptly announced the expulsion of 15 members, explicitly branding them as thugs. The violent catalyst that forced the party's hand was an alleged targeted physical assault on an individual identified in reports only as Gary. You have to contrast this raw street violence against the polished image of the administration. It raises a serious question about whether this purge is a genuine zero-tolerance policy or a desperate PR band-aid. National stability is tied directly to investor confidence, as Zambia attempts to signal to the global market that its internal political disputes will not disrupt the rule of law ahead of the 2026 cycle. It is a stark departure from the massive, unified popular support that originally brought the UPND's New Dawn to power. The current reality has drifted noticeably from that promise. The immediate risk to Zambia's institutional integrity rests on the ruling party's ability to suppress its own internal violence in favor of constitutional order. For more daily intelligence and deep dives into the stories moving the nation, hit subscribe and follow the Zambian People's Pulse.